What happened last night in Vegas will not stay in Vegas, as we here in State College at the 360 Sports Show are ready to recap everything NFL and Super Bowl related. Let's get it. Let's go right into our first topic. It's obvious. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and we were talking about the Super Bowl last night. Did he become the GOAT with that win over the San Francisco 49ers? Came back from 10 points once again, the third time in his Super Bowl career. He's now 3-1, trailing by 10 points. Every other quarterback, 4-48 in NFL history. Brennan, is he the GOAT?
I don't think he's the GOAT just yet. I mean, you can't deny what Tom Brady did when he was with the Patriots. I mean, 6 Super Bowls, I don't know how many MVPs. He is still the clear GOAT. No discussion about that. I don't want to hear anything else. Mahomes, I can hear an argument for him to be number 2. I know there's a couple of quarterbacks up there, like Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. You can argue about that. Mahomes is 28 years old. Those quarterbacks didn't do what he did at age 28. I'm still going to give the slight nod to Montana, maybe Manning over Mahomes right now. Okay. I think Mahomes will be better than them by the end of his career. I just want to see a little bit more of what he can do throughout his career, because he could have, for all I know, he could have a complete, total fall off next season. I highly doubt it, but that's where I stand with Mahomes being.
Do you agree?
Rankings.
Yes or no?
I agree that he's not better than Tom Brady, but I think last night solidified his number 2 spot all time, because, I mean, this guy, like, there's no reason. He was down by 10, you said, against the Niners.
Yep.
With that defense, there's absolutely no reason he should have won that game. That defense is insane. Like, they have so good D-line. The secondary is good. Come back, he wins. That's his 3rd Super Bowl in, 4 attempts, I think. He's 3 for 4. Only losing to Brady. That's just, I feel like he's number 2. He's doing really good.
So Peyton, Brennan, we see. Well, Jenna, what are we thinking?
I'm going to say he's number 3 behind Joe Montana and Tom Brady. But Mahomes is the first player to win 2 NFL MVPs and 3 Super Bowl MVPs before the age of 30. So I think that puts him at 3 right now behind Montana and Brady, like I said. But like you said, I don't think he's there yet. I want to see more from him. I don't think he's going to go downhill after this year, but I just want to keep seeing more.
Interesting. All right, so no one's ready to crown him yet?
No.
I'm almost ready to crown him. I can't lie. I think he's on the 1A, 1B range with Brady. I don't think Montana's up above Mahomes after what I just watched.
I don't know.
Every time you're just ready to count him out, you see him down by 10, battles right back. I mean, it's so impressive what he's doing. He's the first player to win 2 MVPs and 3 Super Bowls before turning 30 years old. What he's doing right now is remarkable. He's on a crazy pace. I want to talk about a little bit the rest of the game, because this Chiefs defense deserves some flowers as well. There's also some controversy with the overtime, so I want the thoughts first. Let's go to the overtime. What did we think? Was that the smart decision for the Niners to take the ball first? What do you think?
See, I really don't know, and I've been thinking about this all day, right, because that was the first time since the Josh Allen rules were played in the playoffs. And I think it could have worked out if the Niners scored a touchdown, because then they would have gotten the ball back when the Chiefs went down and scored. But you really don't know what's going to happen. I think as that starts to happen more often in the playoffs, teams will kind of start to figure out a way around that. But for the first time happening, I think it was probably the right decision for them to do that, considering that it's never been done before, and you really don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
That's true, Peyton.
I agree with taking the ball first. I mean, you have to go out there and win the game. You have a chance. This is the biggest stage. Say you go down and score, the Chiefs go down and score, you have a chance to end the game no matter what score, field goal, touchdown. I feel like you have to take the ball there. You have to take the win. And their offense didn't execute that well in the second half because they shied away from McCaffrey. They keep it with McCaffrey and they go score. I feel like they win the game.
Yep. Okay. Jenna, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the 49ers did make the right choice, because I think, let's say they did defer. I don't know if they would have been able to score if Kansas City had scored first. I don't know if they would have been able to mirror that. So I'm going to go with what they made the right decision. I know they're saying they didn't know the overtime rules. They didn't practice with the new rules, whatever. I still think they made the right choice. I don't know how much would have changed.
Well, I think it's crazy you just mentioned that they said they didn't even know the rules,
right.
And that's just clearly a coaching.
It's all over the internet. We all know the rules.
Right. Yeah. They literally explained it before the overtime period. Bill Vinovich did. I don't know how you don't know that going into the overtime period. 2 other plays I want to talk about. The Kansas City defense applied some pressure on 3rd down. Big-time stop and big-time plays on 3rd and 5 in the 4th quarter. Trey McDuffie on that slot blitz came in, pressured Purdy. They get a first down. game's practically over. The Niners win the Super Bowl. Then in 3rd and 5 in overtime, Chris Jones comes in unblocked. The backup guards in the game for San Fran.
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings was wide open for a touchdown, too. If Purdy just has
I
an
was
inch
going
of
to say
time.
he's so underrated. You know, there's so many people
Oh,
around him. But I mean, watching him last night, it was really fun to see.
Yeah, they call him 3rd and Jawan for
Yeah.
a reason. He had
Yeah.
the passing touchdown
would've-
as well, the receiving touchdown.
He would have been Super Bowl MVP if the Niners won.
Probably.
For sure.
There's a
Yeah.
good argument to make there, though.
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings could have had a Super Bowl MVP last night if Purdy just has an inch of time, but
Yeah.
unfortunately did
Yeah.
not get it. So,
I also feel bad for Greenland. I'm sure all of you saw him trying to
yeah.
go celebrate
Yeah.
on the field, and he
Yeah.
tears his Achilles, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane. You never
That's
want to go
brutal.
down trying to celebrate.
Especially a non-contact injury on the
I
turf,
know.
like doing
it's
that.
brutal, yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolute heartbreaker for Dre Greenlaw. Definitely sucks. All right, we talked about the actual football, and now we have to talk about the event surrounding the Super Bowl, the halftime show with Usher. I'm not a big fan of the Super Bowl halftime shows personally. Let's open it up to the floor, though, Jenna. What's your thoughts?
I thought it was boring because I was expecting him to bring out Justin Bieber. I thought it was coming. I was full on prepared. It didn't happen. I was disappointed, and I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the stripping. I wasn't a fan of all the chaos. I don't know. It wasn't my thing.
Not your thing. Peyton?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I don't know if it's just me. I didn't know he was performing until I had people
Right.
over, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you ready for Usher to perform?" I'm like, I didn't know he was
They were
performing.
saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, are you ready
Yeah.
for Usher?
Yeah, I couldn't name other than the song. I was like, yeah. I couldn't name any of his songs.
Name that,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Like,
it was not. I didn't really. I wasn't a big fan.
Okay.
yeah,
Brennan?
no, it was all right. I think
Yeah.
it was just kind of mid. You know, I mean, the roller skating was cool. I mean, but it wasn't one of the best ones. It was just like middle of the pack tier.
Right.
There were definitely better, definitely worse. But yeah, there's really not much else to say about this halftime show other than
I know.
it just happened. That's kind of what
Yeah.
it felt like.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing before we move on from Super Bowl. What did you guys think about Travis Kelce bumping into Andy Reid?
Oh.
Because I
Yeah.
was pissed.
I mean,
I was
I
mad.
don't know.
Any other player gets benched.
Any other
Yeah.
AJ Brown tweeted out, he was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
would have been kicked out of the league. I don't know if he would have been kicked out of the league, but you
can't
you
do
know,
that.
I
You
don't
can't
think
do
you can do
that.
that. Especially Andy Reid, he looked like he was really confused, didn't know what was
Yeah.
happening, and Travis continues to yell at him. I didn't think it was okay at all.
Like,
No.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Travis. There's a reason why you weren't in the play. It's because simply you're just not that great at blocking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were good at blocking, you'd be in the you'd be in the game. Like George Kittle would have been in the game because he's great at blocking. But Travis Kelce, you can't get mad at that. That just can't happen.
You
Yeah.
know, and because they ended up winning, it ended up not mattering. Now everyone's not
Right.
really
Right.
talking about it as much.
And then
but
they made up and
Exactly.
everything.
So
Yeah, he
everything's
was
all good and well.
They won
you
the
know.
Super Bowl, they made
Yeah.
up. But,
Yeah, they just
so.
chalk it up to, we're just passionate, just a nice little discussion on the sideline. Had they lost, who knows what kind of story we're getting
Right.
into
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So, kind of a break for Travis Kelce. He did turn it on in the second half, obviously. He won the battle of the tight ends. George
He did.
Kittle only 4 yards, I think, and 2 catches.
Yeah.
Because
Kelce,
then Kittle got
much
hurt
better.
for a little
Kittle
bit,
got
and then he was
hurt
back
with,
in.
Yeah, got hurt on the
hurt.
final drive.
Yeah.
My personal thoughts before we move on for the halftime show, I just want to include it. I think it's dumb that we have a 25-minute halftime show, and
Yeah.
then every other halftime in the NFL throughout the entire season is 15 minutes. I think
Yeah.
that throws off the players a little bit. It's a little confusing to
I
me.
agree.
I'm not a big fan of it. Plus, we have a bunch of people in a stage on the field. Probably doesn't help the turf and the slipping and all that. I don't know.
No.
Personally, not a fan favorite of the halftime show. But, we have to talk about it. It's the Super Bowl halftime show. That's where a lot of people come to watch.
Exactly.
With that being said, let's move it on, though, into our next topic. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame class. It was a large class. Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson headlining the class. Any thoughts on the class? Anyone that should have been in, should not have been in? What do you guys think? We'll start with Brennan.
I think they all deserve to be in. At the end of the day, these are some of the faces of the NFL in their respective time period. I mean, the contributions they all had to this game. I mean, these were a lot of these players were players we grew up watching. Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Devin Hester. I mean, one of the greatest punt returners of all time.
The greatest.
The greatest.
The greatest.
I
The
agree.
greatest.
Yeah, the
He's
greatest.
leading
Yeah,
in
he is
every
the
statistical
greatest.
category.
Yeah.
19
These are just some of the
touchdowns.
most iconic players of the early 2000s. And I think all of them deserve to be in, regardless of whether they're first ballot, second ballot, third ballot.
Peyton, go to you.
Yeah, I mean, these players are very good. Devin Hester, once again, he's the only player, I don't know if y'all know this, speaking of football or Super Bowl, he's the only player to return an opening kick for a Super Bowl touchdown.
2006, yep.
Yeah, and I mean, that whole, I don't know where I saw that from, like a 30 for 30 or something, but that whole video was funny because they lined him up at corner and then Torrey Holt trash talked him.
Right.
And then as he was trash talking, Devin Hester returned another one. It was so
Yeah,
funny.
you don't want to trash talk Devin Hester.
Yeah.
That's something you learn from that. Yeah, that's for sure.
Devin Hester definitely deserves to be in it. Andre Johnson, he's I think outside of DeAndre Hopkins, the best Texans receiver. I don't know if you put him over Hopkins. I don't know.
I think he had the longer career with Houston, too.
Yeah.
So I think Andre Johnson kind of gets it there. Yeah.
Julius Pepper's really good. My brother, Panthers fan, knows a lot about him. Patrick Willis, maybe outside of Ray Lewis, one of the most feared linebackers. I mean, nobody threw over the middle of the field over him because it wasn't going to end well. And then I was doing like my research on the two, who are they? Randy Gradishar and Steve McMichael.
Yep.
Randy, like he had a good career. I feel like, well, it says right here, won Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time Pro Bowl. That was back when Pro Bowl was like actually mean something. You know?
I know.
Yeah, some more into that, yeah.
So I feel like they both, Steve McMichael, I feel like he was a Super Bowl champ, 2-time first. They're all deserving of Hall of Fame, either if it's first ballot or second ballot. They all deserve it.
Yeah,
Jenna,
I mean,
what do you
I think they're all deserving. That's for sure. So it was really hard to pick who I thought like deserved it most and who deserved it the least. But I'm going with Julius Peppers for most deserving because he was just such a dominant defensive end, and he's the only player in league history with more than 100 sacks and 10 interceptions. So he was just insane. But least deserving, he's still so deserving, but Devin Hester because he was just a returner.
All right, there
so
it is.
he was
Wow.
a very average
There it
wide
is.
receiver. Best returner ever, though. He did have 19 touchdowns. I mean, he changed the game. But not every day like a regular offensive or defensive player. So
Yeah, there's an argument there that people make. We're saying there's been receivers in the past that could have had types of careers like maybe not like Devin Hester, but to that echelon of Devin Hester range, but they switched from returning to just receiver. You know, they just thought Tyreek Hill was one of them. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's a great receiver, but he was returning kicks and punts for the start of his career, then stopped once he really moved into the top two receivers.
Right.
So that's the argument for some people to be made. Jenna goes with that range. I like that thought, honestly. I really like to see that. So we're going to quickly move it on now. We're going to go to the Where Will He Play segment, and we are going to look at 3 guys that are probably going to move on to new teams, possibly, not entirely sure. But we're going to start right now with Justin Fields, the current quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Peyton, we're going to start with you. Where does he play football next season?
I think he should stay in Chicago. I feel like the Bears will make a huge mistake, especially because they have the number 1 pick, and I don't know if this is spoiling anything, but there's another player on this list that we're going to talk about. Am I allowed to introduce him right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
His name's Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel like the Bears need to keep Fields and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. If you have him and DJ, like you saw when Fields did with DJ Moore, if you have him, Fields, DJ Moore, and Marvin Harrison, this offense can go to that next level. I feel like only in the Bears situation is it important to take the receiver with the 101 pick, just because you really don't know his full potential until you build around him. So I feel like if they take Marvin Harrison, Justin Fields will be a top quarterback.
Gotcha. All right, Jenna, we'll go to you. Where does Justin Fields play?
I think that's interesting. I'm going to go with Denver because he's got the speed, athleticism, and ability to extend plays, which would all be upgrades to to Denver's current quarterback position. I I think it makes sense.
Shot at Russell Wilson there, huh?
Sorry,
He's off the
Russ.
team.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're
Russ.
right. He was.
He's gone.
The original quarterback situation, for sure. All right, Brennan, what do you think?
I have to agree with Waddell. I said the Bears. I think you got to build around him. You know, there's a reason you retain the head coach to remain consistent with what he had last year. Now you're getting, like you said, Marvin Harrison. Imagine the draft capital they get too by trading the first overall pick.
That's true.
You build weapons around Justin Fields. Go out, sign a solid running back in free agency. I think this offense could be huge for the Chicago Bears next year if they keep Fields and draft Harrison.
You know, I didn't think you guys were going to be majority on them keeping Justin Fields.
I've been saying it ever since they secured the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
That they need to keep Fields
I
and to build around him. I think he has
That's fair.
great potential.
I think he goes to Atlanta personally. I'll explain later. You know, I don't have time. You know, check out my Twitter or something if you want the explanation. We're going to move on to the next guy here. We got Hassan Reddick. We're going to start. Same order. Peyton, where's he playing?
This one's tough because he's really good, but his draft, his trade value, you think second, third round pick, you know what I mean? $15 million on his contract, that's due, I feel like. This one's tough, but I can see teams like the Texans who need have a lot of capital, defensive minded head coach, or a team like the Lions possibility, because if you pair Aidan Hutchinson and Hassan Reddick, you don't have to worry about your secondary as much because those two players will get to the quarterback very fast.
Jenna.
So honestly, I don't really like talking about this. I'm an Eagles fan, so this is kind of sad. He went to Temple. I want him to stay in Philly. But I think he's going to go to Detroit. They're like a player or two away from having a good enough defense. So I think he could really help them out there. That's what I got for him.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I thought Detroit originally, but I couldn't see Detroit making a trade with Philadelphia, especially since these are two teams competing in the NFC right now.
That's true.
So I did say the Houston Texans. I think putting him on that young defense, they have the cap space to be able to hold on to his contract, pair him up with Will Anderson on a very young and hungry Texans team in the AFC South, and I think this Houston defense could be game wreckers.
I like it. Big fan of that. I'm going to personally go with the Rams. I mean, we all know that they hate draft picks. You know, they're not fans of keeping that first-round pick. They have not selected in the first round since 2016, where they took Jared Goff, who just beat them in a playoff game. So that tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah.
I think the Rams maybe go after him. No player in double-digit sacks. Aaron Donald's now 33. I mean, maybe they go out for a pass rusher. You know, they don't like picks. That's why I'm going with Hassan Reddick to the Rams.
That's a good pick because they've been in the mix with Brian Burns, but the only problem with that is they don't have a first-round pick to trade till I don't know what it is. But
Alrighty. Marvin Harrison, we just touched on it earlier. Kind of spoiled it. It's okay.
I mean,
go ahead. Where do you think he's playing, though?
I had to mention his name because it kind of made my claim make more sense about Fields. I still think the Bears have to draft him at the number 1 pick. I feel like this will be like perfect for them because Fields is good. And Fields, you build around Fields, you give him the weapons he needs. And so, say Fields is bad next year. You have a high pick. Next year's quarterback class is also pretty good. It's not Caleb Williams level, but it is pretty good. And that's when you would take your quarterback and move on from
That's
Fields.
a good point. That's a really good point.
Gotcha. Jenna?
I say Arizona just because it makes a lot of sense. He would be that weapon for Kyler Murray, so I think he's got to go there.
I agree with that, but I'll let Brennan go ahead. What's your thoughts first?
I'm going to continue to add on to the Bears talk here. This makes too much sense. You know, if you get a second stud wide receiver like he's going to be, I mean, we've seen teams in the past do this. I mean, look, Tua, average quarterback at best with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. People are talking about him making upwards of $40 million. The Dolphins are going to offer him or something. No shot to Joe Burrow. He is still a top 3 quarterback, Waddell.
Top 2.
But
2.
I don't know about that.
2.
I don't know about that.
I was wondering what camera was on me.
But it helps that he has T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. You need weapons around Justin Fields. If he gets Marvin Harrison, the sky's the limit for him.
Got you. All right, so this side of the table is on Chicago. This side of the table is on Arizona. I'm going to continue with the Cardinals' support. They've got the number 4 pick in the draft. Kyler needs a number 1 wide receiver, definitely. I mean, the first 3 picks could arguably be quarterback. Maserati Mar falls right into the laps of Arizona. I think that they take him. They capitalize, get their number 1 guy for Kyler. So
they need to get that Larry Fitzgerald kind of thing back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what they need. They need a number 1 X factor for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's move it on now to the way too early MVP picks. We're speculating. You know, the Super Bowl just ended, but who cares? We're going to look forward to next season. Peyton, start us off. Who was your too early MVP pick?
I don't think this is a shocker to anybody that knows me personally. I went with Joe Burrow. I feel like this is the year. Like, all right, injury prone. I know some of my friends are watching, and we were debating all day. Injury prone. This and like it was a freak accident. Okay, stuff happens. This is the year. Like this is the year for him to go and like solidify himself as top 2. Okay, because this guy over here still thinks, not throwing shade, but I kind of still thinks there's a debate for Josh Allen.
There is. There is no thinking. There is.
Just playing. But yeah, I feel like this is the year Joe Burrow can do it, and if he does this, and I'll actually wait for what I'm about to say to the next segment. But I feel like this is what Joe Burrow's year to do it.
Gotcha. Jenna, we'll go to you. What do you think?
Okay, so I'm going with Jalen Hurts because I honestly think there's quite a few guys that I could see being the way too early MVP. But I think if the Eagles' coaching changes have a positive effect, I could see Hurts getting back to where he was. He was one of the favorites going into late November. So if he's able to get back to that point, I think he's definitely a contender. I think it's about coaching and if he is able to get back to where he was.
I mean, yeah, they probably had one of the worst offensive coordinators. And you could blame that maybe on Sirianni or Brian Johnson in that last season, but there was clearly an inept play calling scheme there. They were not tailoring anything towards Jalen Hurts' playing
Right.
style. Plus, he had that knee injury that was probably nagging him. So
Exactly. I mean, I feel like
yeah.
he wasn't healthy for majority of the season. He wasn't 100%. So
I think it's wrong to say that Hurts' MVP candidacy is not anywhere near the top like it was going into last season. So yeah, I like that pick there, and then we'll get back to this side of the table. The little
Yeah,
argument
all
we
right.
had going on because I think we know
So
how
I'm
it's
just
about to
gonna
go.
I'm just gonna finish the Homer arguments here. Josh Allen, I think he should have won it this year. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but I have the stats to back it up. I mean, he led the league in total touchdowns. He accounted for over 80% of the Bills' total touchdowns for the season. Lamar was only in the 50s range. He was PFF's #1 rated quarterback this season, and it just feels like he's going to win an MVP at some point. Like he has to. I mean, he's probably the most physically gifted quarterback in the league. Can chuck the deep ball. Changed his mechanics a couple years ago during the 2020 season. Now he's arguably one of the best. I'd say he's a 2A, 2B with Joe Burrow. I know you want to disagree, but that's where I have him. And he's Josh Allen, man. What more could you want? I mean, people want to argue that he didn't win it this year because of the seeding. Well, he was still the 2 seed.
and he still played great.
He
I
still
think.
played great, yeah. I mean, going back, people say he throws too many interceptions. Brady, Manning,
He can take
Breeze,
a lot of risks,
Ben
I think.
Roethlisberger, they all
Yeah.
had more interceptions than Josh Allen did in their first 6 seasons. So I
Gotcha.
think the
Yeah.
Josh Allen slander needs to stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
All right, I respect the takes. You guys are all going with your favorite teams represented. I respect it. Let's move on, though, to my pick. I'm not going with a New Orleans Saint. I'm going with a Houston Texan by the name of C.J. Stroud. I would love to pick Derek Carr, but I just simply don't believe. However, C.J. Stroud I do believe in. Obviously had a great rookie of the year for that matter, just crowned that on Friday, the NFL honors. But now this Texans team, $57 million in cap space. You get Tank Dell and Nico Collins both healthy to start the season. Everything's looking on the up and up. Plus, you got Bobby Slowick and Gerard Johnson coming back, the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. What reason is there for him to go back down? Only thing really I'm seeing is him going up. And I think up for him is possibly an MVP candidacy next season. I could go with Mahomes. That's boring, though. I had to switch
I
it
know,
up.
that's what I
I
was
think
thinking,
Mahomes
too.
is
Oh,
the
I like
favorite.
the Stroud's pick.
So, yeah, you got to go with C.J.
I like
Stroud. That's
Stroud.
what I'm representing. I thought about Herbert, but they just signed
I thought about Herbert,
offensive
too,
coordinator
yeah.
by the name of Greg Robin, who I'm not a believer in. So that's why I'm going with C.J. Stroud. Just to switch it up a little bit, not go with the favorite team, not go with the favorite. We're going C.J. Stroud. All right, now let's move it on. We're going to go into the best of 2023, 2024. This is all of our favorite plays from the season. We're going to start with Peyton. What's the number one play of the season for you?
Spoiler alert, Homer again. Look at this throw.
It's a great play.
Ooh.
Almost
We call
picked
that
it.
Right there.
They call that a hole shot.
Hole
There's
shot,
a
cover
two,
two,
yeah,
yep.
cover two, hole shot.
Can I?
The celebration was there. I mean, that was just a perfect throw.
Can
and
I
this is
can
what
I ask who won that game?
the Texans won. It was a great game. But
Okay,
this is
I'm
what I
just
mean.
saying.
Whenever this guy gets back fully healthy, I'm sorry, few quarterbacks in the history can make that throw. I don't think that's biasy at all. That was threading the needle, and I really like that play.
It's definitely a dot for sure. You mentioned the cover two shot. I respect that. That's a good pick. A good pick starting us off. Let's see if we're going to top it, though. Let's go to Jenna. What do we have here?
Listen, mine was covered one of the early episodes of this show. I think maybe the first one, but I chose Xavier Gibson, touchdown game one. I mean, come on, this guy, this wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, he wasn't even on the
Just
team
can't.
weeks before this. It was it's just an amazing play.
Sis.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt this game. Just for them to be able to win it, I think it was awesome.
Oh, wait,
The
Brennan,
Sean
who-
McDermott.
wait, who
coaching
won that
master
game?
class. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whose team made the playoffs?
Yeah, and I mean, it's overtime. I feel like this was just
that's a
a great way to
walk-off.
start the season.
Yeah, it's literally a
Yeah.
walk-off
Yeah.
after their star quarterback got hurt. I mean, that was
Exactly.
chills for everyone that was watching that. Even though you knew what was coming eventually the rest of the season, that was still
I
awesome.
was getting food when that happened, and I walked back and I saw he was injured. I'm like, "Are you got to be kidding me?"
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of fantasy
It was-
matchups came down to the wire, including myself on this night. I actually ended up winning because of this, so shout out to the Jets special teams coming in clutch for me. That was a great ending. Let's move on, though. Brennan, what do we got?
All right, going to Super Wildcard Weekend here,
Okay.
and we have probably the best rush of the entire season. It's this Josh Allen run right here. The Steelers defense doesn't know how to tackle. Josh Allen takes advantage, pulls a little Kenny Pickett there with the fake slide. I'm not going to get into the rules though about that. That's the Steelers' fault. But like I said, one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the league. What other quarterback is going to bust through the contact there,
And not slide.
Yeah.
get in,
That's
get
true.
into the end zone for the touchdown. I thought about putting the Shakir play from this game on here too, because that was nasty footwork for him to be able to stay up. But I think this one takes the cake for me.
I think it's interesting, like with the fake slide debate. I saw a lot of people saying it, but I've seen runs from Josh Allen before where he's done that same move, where he kind of hesitates, and it's not like a fake slide. He's just kind of surveying the defense.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a fake slide. I think it should be legal, and it paid off.
agree.
It was legal at the time.
It was.
It still is legal currently. Who knows if it changes? We'll see. With that being said, though, I'm going to finally pick a play for my favorite team, the New Orleans Saints, and we're not going to go Derek Carr, who I mentioned earlier. We're going with this man, Jameis Winston, the one and only. How can you not have a Jameis Winston play?
Eating them
on the top?
W's.
Yeah, look at this play. He's the only quarterback in the NFL that makes this throw. What kind of maniac rolls left, looks all the way to the corner of the end zone and just chucks one up? Shout out to A.T. Perry, who came down with it. Great catch, great throw. I mean, it's the most Jameis Winston play of all time. Have to include it. I'm a big Jameis guy. He might leave the Saints, unfortunately, this offseason after what happened in Week 18 with the fake kneel down and the Jamal Williams touchdown.
The collective huddle agreement.
The collective decision that was made, that was probably just Jameis. Like, hey, guys, he was definitely the instigator there with that idea, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I love Jameis. Great guy. A.T. Perry. Know the name for next season. I'm just giving my guy some love, as well as Rashid Shaheed. You should know his name by now, but A.T. Perry, he's the guy. All right, let's move it on. 360 Sports Moments of the Day. I'm not a big hockey guy, so hopefully you guys are. I want to hear your takes on this one. Ryan Reeves says that he wants hockey to be violent again. It's kind of a bold take, maybe. I don't really know. What do you guys think? Let's open it up. Brennan,
Well, I mean, they audited the hit stat a couple weeks ago for the reason, like, they want to make the game safer for players. But, I mean, hockey's the only sport where you can really get that physical. And, I mean, in my honest opinion, you should leave it that way. That's how these players were trained. They were trained to hit, trained to get into fights. I think you just got to leave hockey alone. It's one of the main reasons why people watch that sport. There are no penalties really involved with that. So I agree with him. I think you got to leave it the way it is.
Okay, interesting. Jenna, do you agree?
I'm not a big hockey person, but based off what you said, I completely agree. Hockey should be left alone. It's the one sport that can be pretty physical.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also not a big hockey fan, but at the same time, when I go to Penn State hockey games and somebody lights somebody up, I just jump
You
up.
love to see it.
That's all I want to
Yeah,
see. So
exactly.
I mean, I can get down with it, but at the same time, you don't want to headhunt, I guess, 'cause then that's a problem. But I do.
That's when it's a penalty. But.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that video, the dude, and I think it was Toronto, that got cross-checked on after slap shot on the empty netter.
net, yeah.
So, I mean, at that extent, you don't want that level of violence. But, I mean, during play, I'm open to it, Let them hit.
Yeah.
Let the guys hit. All right, let's move on. We talk about Caitlin Clark all the time, and for good reason. She's now only 8 points away from breaking the career record all-time points in women's hoops. She's, I think, 8 points away from Kelsey Plum, who's currently in that top spot. I mean, we're watching greatness.
Yeah.
She's the face of college basketball for a reason.
Easily. And not just women's college basketball.
No, all of it. All of college basketball.
Yeah, she had 15 assists against Penn State, which was just crazy. She's unstoppable.
Yeah, every time I watch her highlights, she just pulls up from hash and doesn't care, and it's just in. And she doesn't do it twice a game now. She does it 5 times. She's really good, and it does say Thursday against Michigan. That can't happen to a better team. I mean, me being from Penn State, I really love Michigan.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really hope that's going to be great for her. And there's I don't know how many games are left, but the fact that she's doing it there's probably
she's got 5 or 6 left.
Yeah, so she'll be able to add on to it. It'll be exciting to watch, and I'm proud of, happy for her.
Definitely. Got to show some love to Caitlin Clark. With that being said, though, let's take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. Who's on the show? Let's reveal it right now. Who's letting this guy back on the show again? I mean, who's in charge of that? That's unbelievable. Just kidding. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. Tune in. It's going to be the Penn State Sports Edition. Should be a good one. I'm excited to be on it once again. YouTube at 5:50. Set your alarms. Stay tuned. This has been the 360 Sports Super Bowl recap show. I've been the host, Rocco Pellegrino, alongside Peyton Waddell, Brennan Kirkpatrick, and Jenna Wissman. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned tomorrow. Have a good night.